everyone at Danielle Middle School. I want to wish everyone a very happy Black History Month. I am Representative Donna McLeod. I represent District 105 in Gwinnett County, Georgia. And I wanted to thank Mr. James Taylor for the invitation and for Lauren for putting this together and coordinating everything. So thank you guys very much. I know that you guys sent me a set of questions, but I just wanted to touch on the fact that Black History Month, even though we are saying only 1 month of the year, but let's remember that we celebrate Black history 365 days of the year. You guys sent me a set of questions, so I'm going to just go ahead and start with the questions and answer them. So the first question is about my background. It says, how did your childhood background influence where you are today? So for me, I was born in the island of Jamaica. And for me, my culture was very strong in the sense that it exposed me to just the root of people and just the straightforwardness of the Jamaican culture. And it's got a lot of culture in it. And, I wasn't born rich, so I probably spent most of my time running up and down the streets with no shoes on. And, I wore shoes to school, and we had actually belts in school when I was a little girl. But that structure was very important to me, and my family was always very active in their community. So that is the part of me that I carry today. So the other question was, why did you leave Jamaica to go to Canada? And yes, I grew up in Canada, and I left Jamaica because my dad, who was a welder, and in the late 60s, Canada was building its infrastructure. So they were looking for people that could basically help with Canada moving forward with their hydro plant and electricity. And so that's how I ended up in Canada. My father left when I was a year old. And then when I was 9 years old, he took my sister and I up to Canada. And that was a huge change because anyone that knows Jamaica, Jamaica is a small island, it's a tropical island. And Canada is a huge continent, and it's very wide space. And of course, the second day that I was in Canada, we saw snow for the first time. So that was pretty wild and interesting. And then it says, then what made you move from Canada to Georgia? That had a lot to do with my dad too. My dad he worked back and forth between the state of between Canada and the United States. And at one point, he decided he was going to move to Florida to prepare for his retirement. And he asked if we were interested in coming down to the States. We said yes. So I ended up moving. We ended up applying for a green card in 1991. Didn't get that green card until 1998. And once we got that green card, they gave us 6 months to basically relocate from Canada to the States. We chose Georgia because the Olympics happened in 1996, and I was in Canada, and I watched it, and I just thought Georgia was just wonderful and fantastic. It looked great, and so that's how I ended up choosing Canada. There was a couple other choices, but Georgia ended up being the one that I ended up settling on. So what was it hard becoming a citizen? So it wasn't that it was hard, but it did take dedication and a willingness. As a green card holder, you don't have the right to vote. And so having the right to vote was very important to me. And I came here in 1998. I didn't apply for citizenship until 2012. So I became a citizen in 2012. And then I ran for office in 2016 for the first time. You have to read you have to read and study for it, and you have to pass the test in order to become a citizen. There's about 100 test questions, and you don't know which one they're going to ask. And I did read the Constitution, so I passed that test. The next question is, what do you think is the importance of understanding the privilege of citizenship? Again, without the vote, you don't have a voice. You can pay your taxes, you can do everything else as a non-citizen, but that powerful right to vote. In fact, I coined a statement that says knowledge is the most powerful thing you give to yourself, but the most powerful thing you give to each other is the vote. And so I think that it's so important for people to understand their responsibility as a citizen. And plus, our citizenship in this country, which is a republic, requires that you participate in it for the country to actually work. So we have to participate in this country for it to work. The next question is, how did it feel becoming an American citizen? Well, just that power of the vote was exciting, and I'm truly honored to be a citizen, and it makes me sad when other people don't take their citizenship seriously and exercise all the rights to being a citizen. So for me, it's very important, and I feel very powerful being a citizen of this country. And then the next question is, my bio says that I'm a chemical engineer. At what point do you realize you wanted to pursue a state government position? So I'm still an engineer. I still consult and do and serve the people of Georgia. And for me, being an engineer was one of the things that allowed me to be a very critical thinker and a very root cause person. So when I look at things, I never really think about things on the surface. I always think there's more to it, and how do I get to the bottom of anything? And so I'm grateful that I am an engineer, and engineers change a lot of things. But the pursuit to be in government is because I have a willingness to serve. And I believe that the people in the state of Georgia deserve people that will really fight on their behalf and represent them and be their voice, and that they get a return on the investment, because the most important part of your ability to live in this country is that you pay taxes, and those tax dollars are used to fund the government. And so how we spend your tax dollars ultimately says about how we believe that you should be served and be protected based on the way we spend your money. The next question is, was it a struggle when trying to become a U.S. citizen? It wasn't really a struggle. It was about being committed to wanting to be a citizen and focusing on making sure that I did become a citizen in all the right ways. And I wanted to make sure that I understood the full gravity of becoming a United States citizen. So the struggle wasn't hard, but you had to be determined and focused to make sure you wanted to pass the test and get it done in the first place. Work-related question. How have you ever felt discriminated against for not being born in America by your coworkers? So yeah, there definitely were times that people would say things, but anyone that knows me, I don't really put up with people making me feel less than. I'm very proud of who I am and what I am. And if I had a coworker that ever crossed that line, I assured you, I made sure they knew not to cross that line again. One of the other issue is just being a woman in an engineering field. I think there was a lot of struggle with that, even with pay, making sure that I got paid the same amount as my male counterparts. So that was more of an issue for me than just the idea of not being born here. And obviously I have somewhat of an accent, and so some people will dictate it. And I will say this too, there were people that were really excited in knowing me, knowing that I was born in Jamaica and grew up in Canada, so they found that kind of interesting. So I had some good, but most of it has been positive. Next question. As a person of color, what were some of the struggles you went through trying to gain a position of power? Obviously, one of the things I've learned about being a person of color is that you never believe that you are second class. And one of the things I'm always upfront with is I let you know who I am upfront, because my father always told me, you get one chance to make a first impression. And so that's what I've always taken with me. And so I truly believe that if I'm going to go for something and I'm going to give it my all, you first are going to know me by what I've done, by the example that I set. And there's a saying, you tell me who you are by the way you behave. And if you tell me so, I'm going to believe you. So I think that it's so important for you to understand that you always make sure that you let people know who you are, so it will never be misunderstood as to how they're supposed to treat you. How did how did you why did you want to run for the state house of representative? So I wanted to run for state house because I wanted to serve and I wanted to be on the table. I wanted to be at the table because if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. And everybody doesn't have the desire to run, but I think that having people in elected office that share your viewpoint, and I'm a very good representative of my district. I think there's a lot of people from different backgrounds in my district and are immigrants, but there are also people that live here. But we all shared, similar reasons for wanting to live in this community. So for me, running for office was not initially what I wanted it to initially do. I knew I wanted to keep participating in government because I'd been with the Obama campaign and President Obama endorsed me when I did run. But even prior to running for office, I knew the power of government. And when I was a child, my mom was always active in our political parties in Jamaica. So for me, I knew the awesome responsibility of being in government and serving. So it wasn't very hard for me to get into public office. It did take a little bit of convincing to run at that time because I had just become a citizen in 2012 and being asked to run for an elected office in 2016, only 4 years after becoming a citizen, was a little bit, I didn't think I was prepared yet since I just become a citizen. But once I got into knowing what the job entailed, I was comfortable with being a representative if elected. And I think I might have skipped the question, said, how has working with very powerful people influenced you? I think working with powerful people, power is something that people see in different lenses. Some people see that people with money as powerful. I think power comes from making sure that you understand who you are and how you relate to someone else is basically how you treat yourself, then the other person that is relating to you, whether they are very rich or they have a high office. Once you're relating to that person on the level that you are a full human being and deserving of respect, you will not allow anyone to treat you badly. And so for me, working with powerful people has been pretty easy because at the end of the day, they're human beings too, and they too have insecurities and strength. And so we kind of, you work and you get to know people and their strength and their weaknesses, and you're try to make sure that you kind of complement each other and do the right things. And especially when you're in government, you want to do the right thing on behalf of the people. So it's got to be where you can't think of yourself bigger than the people because they actually hire you. When you guys vote, you hire elected people, and we're responsible to report to you on how we are handling your business in government. Next question. How did you feel when you lost the race of state representative in District 105 in 2016? So when I lost, of course it's disappointing, but I'm actually kind of happy that I lost at that point. It gave me a chance to really get to know the district, really get my feet wet about campaigning. Campaigning is hard work. It takes a lot out of you. We're very grassroots, so we're at the doors knocking, and we're on the phones making phone calls. So since we're so grassroots, the 2016 race, even though I lost, I thought that it was a learning experience, and I hope that even when you lose something, you always look at it as what you gain from it, not just that you lost, but how you actually gain from it. And yeah, we gained a lot because I did learn how to manage a campaign better, what I needed on the campaign and who I needed on the campaign. So I took it, of course, not losing is never fun, but I took it and I said, you know what, if I lost, what did I need to do next? And then actually in 2017, my team and we continued to canvass, and we knew that at least 2,000 people did not vote in my district. And so we reached out to all 2,000 people and let them know that, we lost in 2016, but with their vote, I could have won. I only lost by 222 votes, and there was over 2,000 people that did not vote. So we knew the numbers were there. Next question. What motivated you to run again, even though you lost the state house representative the first time? I think I explained that, If you really want to make change, you have to be at the table. And if you're not at the table, you're definitely going to be on the menu. So that's probably the biggest motivation. And I really do love serving. I do love my district. The next question is, what is a typical day like for you as a state house representative? So a typical day, we start our sessions off usually in the chamber. We have morning order. We have the speaker starts out with prayer, and then we have what we call morning order. They talk about dropping the bills. So the morning starts out like that. Before we even get into the session, into the chamber, we think about what we need, what our district needs, what legislation we would like to see put forth for our district. So we get those written up first, and then we start session. And during session, bills will come into initially. So nobody's voting on any bills yet, but it comes in. The bills will drop into the hopper. Then the bills get put into different committees. Hopefully, if your bill gets a hearing, you get to explain why you want this piece of legislation. Then it gets to the floor, and then of course it gets to the floor for an entire vote on the House of Representatives. If your bill passes, then it goes over to the Senate. If they like it, and if they want changes, they'll make some changes. If not, then your bill could pass in the Senate, and then of course the governor would sign your bill into law. So it is. We also have aides that work with us for research when we're doing a bill. So there's a lot of activities going on every day, and then we have constituents that come in and visit us and tell us what they would like. So there's a lot going on at the Capitol while we're in session. And it says, what is your process for getting feedback from your constituents? So for me, I have a newsletter. My constituents also know my number at the Capitol. And for me, I try to engage my constituents, those that are on social media, by the way. I try to differentiate. Everybody's not sitting on social media. Some of our constituents are at their home and never get any input. So I also try to make sure I do town halls. I also call and do robocalls, even not an election year, just to let constituents know what things they need to be doing, what sources are available. Right now, we're looking at the vaccines for the COVID-19, so trying to make sure I'm informing my constituents of where to get the vaccine schedule so they can get the shot done. So we've got a lot going on, but important for me to get in touch with constituents that are on social media, but also those that are not on social media. That's very important. Some general questions you guys have. Was there ever a time where you wanted to give up? If so, what stopped you? I can't say that there's ever been a time that I wanted to give up, but there's been times that's been disappointing. But you know, at the end of the day, I have learned early life that what you think is really, really important today probably won't be as important tomorrow. And that if you can just push through it, really be good at making the decisions in the first place. I think being a good decision maker on your own, you know, on what you need, actually helps you in the long run, where you're not confused about what somebody else wants. You need to focus on what you want and what you need. And I think that's a big thing, because ultimately our lives are going to be dependent on what decisions we make. And a lot of people don't make good decisions initially. But I've said this before, even if you make a mistake, learn from that mistake and make it right. But so for me, realizing that what I think is big or something huge that's going to affect my life for the rest of my life, if I just stand back a little bit and give it some time and think things through, usually it changes, and the next day could be a very different day, and the problem that you saw today might already be solved by just the next day, and something happened that makes that problem almost insignificant. But just stay the course, make good decisions on your own behalf, and decisions that you can live with. Because even if you make a mess and mess up, the fact that you made the decision on your behalf, that's a good thing, because at least you can only blame yourself. and not somebody else and saying that because that person did it, that's why I'm in this place. Make a decision based on what you really want. Two more questions, and it says, what did you look up to, and who did you look up to and why? So my family are some very strong women in my family, and so for me, a lot of times it came directly from just being around my family and the people that I was raised around. Very strong people, very opinionated people. You're lucky if you can get your voice in there sometime, but you learn that you have to stick up for yourself and get your ideas and your thoughts and your opinions out there. And my father and I've always made it be known that we had an open forum to say whatever we wanted to say, and make sure that our opinions were listened to. But he was very strict in a lot of ways. You knew not to do certain things. My father was a very strong man, but he was also a man that understood that as women, we were not going to be second class to anyone. So for that, I'm grateful for my dad in that sense. He never allowed us to feel like we're just girls. So for me, my family, my mom's always been a caring, loving human being. And so we knew that we were always loved. So for me, my family, the culture has always been one. The music, the food. For me, just growing around, having oxtail and rice and peas and patty and, curry goat. It's just always been just an awesome surrounding for me. So I've been truly blessed. So I'm grateful for that. And said, what keeps you motivated? Life. Because you never know what tomorrow brings, and I know that's an unknown, but just being able to live, being accountable for my own action. If I do something wrong, accepting that I did something wrong and trying to make sure that I correct it, and if I hurt somebody, making sure they know, and just valuing life, valuing the people around you. There are a couple more questions, hold on. And then it says, what is your opinion, in your opinion, what makes someone a good leader? Someone who actually can listen, can formulate ideas, and someone who has the ability to execute, but also has the ability to listen. I think a good leader doesn't want to be a boss. People throw around the word boss. I've always said, I can't tell anyone how to live, but what I can do is make sure the process is in place so they want to at least follow. And you can't be a leader without people being willing to follow you. And sometimes even as a leader, you've got to step back too to make sure that if somebody in the group has a better idea, you let them have that idea, and it might be one that we all can use. So a good leader is somebody strong, but not strong-headed and bullying or ego, lets their ego get above them. A good leader also follow up and follow through. It's very important that if somebody gives you something and they expect you to get back to them, that you get back to them. What do you think? Why do you think voting is important? It's everything. Knowledge is the most powerful thing you give to yourself, but the vote is the most powerful thing we give to each other. It literally determines how we all coexist together. And it's not just an ideology thing. It's about making sure that people have the equity in our society so we can all live together. We all pay income tax. We all pay sales tax. Well, you guys, some of you aren't paying income tax yet, but once you get to an adult, you will be paying income tax as long as you start paying taxes. But you pay taxes anyway. Every time that your mom or you earn any kind of money doing chores and you buy something, you pay sales tax. And that's 75% of our budget in Georgia. We have a $23.7 billion budget. 75% of that budget comes directly from income tax and sales tax. And then there's fees, that's about 14%. And then we have the businesses that pay roughly around 3.5%. So as you can see, the bulk of our budget dollars and funding revenue comes directly from us paying money. So all our money is in this pool, and our job is to make sure that pool of money is actually used to benefit the taxpayers. So I've always said is that people should get a return on their investment as taxpayer. So it doesn't matter if you're tall, short, fat, black, white, it doesn't matter. The fact that you pay taxes or your parents pay taxes, we should be looking out for your best interests. Would you ever run for a higher position in government? If so, what position? Yes, I would. I believe that service is important, and running for office is very important. I do have some ideas of some of the things I might want to do, but right now I do want to focus on the state house because there are so many things that need to be done and so many things that need to be made right. And legislation is powerful. I always say to people, before 1865 in the state of Georgia, it was legal to own a human being as a slave. And so that was legislation. So we have to be mindful of what legislations are being enacted. And so I'm very focused on making sure that we have good legislation going forward and that we make sure that bad legislations are struck down. But I will let you all know if I decide to run for something different. But for right now, I am definitely focused on the state house. What is the one thing that makes you most proud? I'm a mom and I'm a grandmother. And those two titles are the two most important titles that I will ever have. I have several others because I'm a sister, I'm an auntie, I'm a daughter. So those are very important to me. So family is extremely important to me, and making sure that we hold each other accountable. So I'm very proud of that. Outside of my family, I will say I'm proud of the person that I am. I'm proud that I have the ability to empathize. I'm proud that I have had this ability to stand firm on things that I believe, and if my beliefs are incorrect, I also have the ability to acknowledge that and change if necessary. So those are the things that make me proud. I have lots of accomplishments of my life. I ran track. I've done the advocacy stuff. I have a nonprofit organization of my own business. But I think to my core, who I am is the most proudest I am. And for my grandmother, who could not read and write, today her granddaughter serves in the Georgia House of Representatives. I was elected as the first Jamaican born, so I made history doing that, and I think she would be very proud of that as well. And I'm just honored that I come from a lineage that cared so much about their family, but also the external world, and that we just want this world to be a better place. And that's why we step up and step out sometime out of our comfort zone to make sure things are better. So again, I just want to wish everyone a very, very happy Black History Month. We will celebrate it 365 days, but because we are focused in the month of February, I remind everybody, make sure you learn something about Black history. We have a rich, strong history going back all the way to Africa. Our journey here is only one part of it, and we have so many African Americans that have contributed so greatly to this world. So I encourage you to learn as much as you can about someone else, but also take some time to learn about somebody in your family or somebody you might know. You won't believe some of the things you find out by just asking. So again, celebrate Black history by first acknowledging that Black history is everybody's history, profoundly so. So I'm grateful because I stand on the shoulders of giants, and I live in the South of the United States that wasn't always welcoming to people of color or someone that didn't live here. So for that, I'm grateful. So again, happy Black History Month to you all, and hopefully one day I get a chance to come and meet with you guys in person. So take care, and God bless.